Welcome, guys, for another video. I am going live to talk about Coach Prime, how he has been a cash cow for Colorado. And this is not a negative spin on anything, and it's not a positive spin on anything. I'm just simply going to read an article, read the facts based upon what the article is alleging, and I'm going to give my personal analysis and personal take on it. Okay. All right. So give me a second here. It says here that Colorado generated $113 million in Deion Sanders' first season. All right, and here's how. Okay. So there's even in that title, I like to look at words and dissect them. It says it says Colorado generated 113 million. It should be reversed. It should say Deion generated 113 million for Colorado in Sanders' first season. Here's how. Colorado did not do anything. I mean, the university hired him to come coach the football program that's been subpar for several years. So it's not Colorado generating it. You see how they, in the title wordplay, how they always marginalize the success or any success that the melanated person brings or that a black person brings. They can't even give him the respect in the title. Those are things that I look at. I'm very, very critical analysis, and it's just, you know, inconsequential. Like there's no rhyme or reason. It was just done. No, there's a rhyme or reason to everything. Okay, so it says Colorado generated $113 million in Deion Sanders' first season. Here's how. Okay, it says Deion Sanders is a retired American professional football player and baseball player. We all know that, who currently coaches at the University of Colorado. Before that, he was the coach of Jackson State. We all know that. And after signing a 4-year deal worth 1.2 million, so he signed a 4-year deal with Colorado. Now, one cannot undervalue the impact he has had on the University of Colorado or Boulder's economy. So here's one man changing the economy, all right, of a region, of a town, of a state. Okay. For instance, his first home game against Nebraska generated almost 18 million for the region, according to Visit Boulder, the convention at Visitors Bureau. They say the city made 18 million last weekend. Coach Prime shared the numbers on his son's YouTube channel last September. Indeed, the University of Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Sanders, aka Coach Prime, helped the Boulder region economy generate 113.2 million from 6 home games during the fall of 2023 season, according to this report. And I think that when we hear numbers like this, it tends to undervalue the results that are going on the football field. What do I mean by undervalue? This is what I mean. We live in an economy we live in a world where everything is based upon money, how much money you've gained, how much money you've earned. The level of success is usually dictated on how much money you can generate, right? And I think that there lies the convolution, the misinterpreting of Coach Prime's success or lack thereof at Colorado. You have a divide. You're going to have two groups. You're going to have some people that are just money based. They look at all the money and all the revenue that Deion Sanders has generated coming to Boulder. Then you're going to look at other people who look at it like, I don't care how much money he's brought there. I'm just looking at the product on the football field. And then you have a small group of people who can actually take both and contextualize it and make sense out of it. All right. I'm in the category of taking both. You can have success, monetary gain, and generate revenue, but you can also have lack of success on the football field. And so it cancels each other. They both cancel each other out because success has to flow on a continuum. You can't have success here, then lack of success there, and success, because every time you have lack of success, it pulls down the frequency of success down on that level of the lower tier. So there are people out there, if you say anything about Coach Prime, the first thing they think about is, oh man, but he's bringing a lot of money to Colorado. Look at how much money he's brought. I don't, that's not significant. Oh, thank you. All right, close it. Thank you. That's not significant. The amount of money he brought is not significant to those who care about the success of the football team. All right. Now, the revenue that he brings in, it's important for Colorado. It's important for their economy. So there are other people outside the nucleus of the football program that are benefiting off of Coach Prime's presence in Colorado. There are not too many people in the world that can go to a university and generate that type of money for a region, for a town. Coach Prime can. And that's a problem, which puts itself underneath the gift and the curse category. You say, how come? How can it possibly be a curse? Well, it's a curse because the individual is bigger than the university. The individual is a personality, it's a character, which lends itself to you having some sort of a clown show of a program. Because you have a character, you have a TV personality that has a son as his coach and all the media attention. So it's overkill. It's overkill of exposure. And when we have overkill of exposure, it kills because you have kill and overkill. It's too much. Too much of anything could be bad for anybody when there's not a balance. There has to be a balance. And so people sort of get confused when when they're trying to analyze their entire Coach Prime experience. They're like, okay, well, yeah, he's popular. He's generating revenue, da 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 da. But the stuff on the football field isn't lining up. Now we understand we did not expect him to come out and be undefeated his first year. But if you look at the first season with Coach Prime in Colorado, one can argue that the first three wins. I don't want to say they were luck, is that they caught people off guard. But once people start to study the tape and see their tendencies, which was very easy to kind of dictate their tendencies because they were very predictable, Colorado became a team that was easy to beat. That's exactly why they had consistent losses. Like they were on a losing streak. So if Prime doesn't change anything and they come with the same philosophy this year, we're going to see the same thing continue. So that's why he has a defense. That's why Coach Prime is defended. So when I say certain things, it's not that I'm hating. When you generate that much money for a town, for a city, for a region, those people that you're making money for as their cash cow, they're going to protect you to a certain degree. Now, the minute you stop generating revenue, they'll stop protecting you. So when you have young athletes coming out, speaking out against Coach Prime or speaking out against the program, you better believe that media is going to defend Coach Prime because the media around Colorado understands the kind of revenue that Coach Prime is bringing in. That has to play a role in it. Money always plays a role in it. If you follow the money, you can actually start to make more sense in your evaluations. Okay. So going on in the article, quote, Coach Prime says, I'm right here. I'm going to highlight where I am. I'm right. If I can highlight it, there it goes. I'm right there. Coach Prime says, what we doing? I'm going to read it like him. I know what we doing. We're bringing unity because when we out there on that field, man, we the Buffalo. Sanders said on the podcast. All the smoke, we ain't white, we ain't black, we ain't Hispanic, we ain't Asian. We just Colorado Buffalo. They don't see the color on my son or Travis Hunter or anybody else. They just see the Colorado Buffalo. All right, so that's what Coach Prime said. Okay. He continued. Now I'm going to stop the Coach Prime voice. I'm going to just read this normally. He continued. Now, the objection for me is to make sure they continue seeing that when we off the field, right? Because you just seen the Colorado Buffalo when we on the field and everybody happy, packed the house. Everybody making money now. When we get outside the stadium, let's continue. Reading along here. In December of 2022, Sanders, this is where I'm at right here. Sanders, signed a 5-year, 29.5 million to become the head coach of the University of Colorado football team. He and his Colorado team brought $17 million to Boulder's economy in a single weekend. Think about that. 17 mil in one weekend. You better believe he's protected. I don't care whether he wins. It's not even about wins or losses at this point. It's about how much money he can generate. So he can have an unsuccessful season this upcoming season. If he continues to generate revenue, he's protected. He's never going to be on a hot seat as long as he's generating revenue. Now, if he continues to have consecutive bad seasons and then people stop coming to the games and he stops generating that type of revenue, then you best believe they're going to find a way to push him out. It's a money thing. It's a money thing. I would argue and say the athletic director that gave Coach Prime a chance at Colorado, I would argue and say it was a money move more than a make my team better move, because it's always, when you're thinking about athletic directors and things like that, their main line is the bottom line. I mean, of course, winning does generate revenue because the more you win, the more, revenue you can accrue. But Coach Prime's personality is so big that he doesn't even need a win. If he's just on the sideline, people are watching because he's a polarizing guy. You either hate him or you love him. All right. So he generated 17 million in the Boulder economy in a single weekend in September of 2023. Forbes said at the time that his presence is driving commerce, from tickets to hotel rooms and from celebrities to restaurants and merch. Think about that. One man. That is a personality. That is not a coach. Now, I'm not saying that he can't coach. He's a personality. His personality is bigger than his title of a coach. And that overarching title, it overwhelms his title as a coach. So it's sort of like putting Denzel Washington on a team to coach them. People are coming to see Denzel because he's the personality, and Coach Prime is a personality. He's not Eddie George. Eddie George coaches at HBCU. Eddie George is just a football guy. So that's kind of mundane to the majority of people. Okay, just a normal guy. So he doesn't get all the hype, all the media attention because he's just a normal, average football coach. And to some of you guys, that's just boring. We want a personality. All right. So with Coach Prime, I'm down here now. All right, with Coach Prime, the Colorado Buffaloes aren't just a football team. They mean something far more now. I just said that. And mind you, before I went live, I hadn't read this article. I'm reading it live with you guys right now. With Coach Prime, the Colorado Buffaloes aren't just a football team. They mean something far more now. So it's not even about football. It's bigger than football. Now, you may say, well, every program is like that. No, some programs are just strictly football, and everything is extrapolated from their football success. With Prime, it's almost like I'm the success. I'm the bigger guy. I'm coming to help Boulder. So when you have that inversion of in proper order or in proper sequence, you're going to have a lot of chaos that's going to be sown within the fibers of the football team. Hence, you see the players that are leaving who you thought would never leave, like the Dylan Edwards, the Alton McCaskills, all right, the Cormina McLeans. It starts a ripple effect. Things have to be done in order. And this is not an indictment on Coach Prime. I'm not hating on him. I'm just telling you guys how things work in the universe. There has to be order in everything. All right. You don't eat with your ass and shit with your mouth. You eat with your mouth and shit with your ass. Like when you do things backwards, you mess up the piping, and you're trying to force things to work, and it will not work. Okay. So they mean much more. The football team is much more than a football team. They symbolize something more than a geography or institution. They are now embodying everything Coach Prime himself stands for. So Colorado football team is taking on the personality of Coach Prime. And I remember watching how they move. That's the way they operate. They're operating similar to the way HBCUs operate. The only thing they're missing is a band that's electric. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like bringing that HBCU flavor to the Power 5 conferences, to the, to a predominantly white university. All right. That's not a problem with me. But it's taken on the personality of a black man, of Coach Prime. All right. They're now embodying everything Coach Prime himself stands for, or better said, they now symbolize what Coach Prime stands for. Confidence, Forbes reported. The platform added, right? The platform right here in the highlight, the platform added that everything he associates himself with becomes success, including his sunglasses, which he gifted to his players. Now, in this article that I just read, it has since I started reading this, nothing here mentions the success or lack thereof of the football team. That's the point that I'm making. That's the divide. You have people who are gung ho and just focused on this aspect of the revenue, how much money he's generated, and then the pragmatics or the practical aspects of the football team and how it's ran. All right, the intricacies of the football team, the sequences, what they stand for, how they operate, becomes marginalized because, well, it doesn't matter. Look how much money he's bringing in, but it does matter. The amount of success that you're bringing in and the way we're critiquing the amount of money that he's bringing in and applauding it and lauding over it, I think that same energy needs to be put into the program, into how things are being ran systematically. All right. The infrastructure that's being built, because I don't like hardcore football heads don't give a damn about how much revenue he generated with sunglasses. Like, who cares? But you know who cares? The economy cares. That's why Coach Prime is the cash cow and he's protected. He always will, as long as he keeps generating this type of money. That's when I use the term token Negro, that's what I mean by that. It's not an insult to Coach Prime. Coach Prime is doing what he has to do to take care of himself and his family. Nothing against him at all. But I'm just saying what the controllers like to do. They take the best of our own and they use it for their agenda. It's not about wins. Now, the little things that Coach Prime does individually with the young men on the football team to inspire them, that's great. But in the grand scheme of things, Colorado doesn't care about Colorado program success. I think we as the fans are more passionate about the wins and losses than anybody else. Colorado in itself, the general populace, the general Caucasian group, they're more so, okay, if he wins, but look how much money he's bringing in. Reading along here, I'm down here. It says the USA Today in their publication described Sanders as the most famous college coach ever. Fame. So that's a problem. These are the things that I've said before on previous videos, but then people were telling me I'm a hater. I said he's too big. Like he's coming in. He hasn't done anything to make his name big in terms of the coaching aspect of it. He's big because of what he's done in the past. But it's so big, and because his personality also accentuates his legendary, his myth or his legacy, because he's not like a who's that guy? Marvin Harrison. Yeah, you guys remember Marvin Harrison, the wide receiver for Indianapolis Colts. Him and Manning were an awesome duo. He didn't talk much. He almost like a Kawhi Leonard. They're great, but they just don't talk much. That's not Prime. Prime, his play and his personality are like together. So it builds upon itself, which is what makes him so big. All right. His cadence, the way he talks, the way he moves. He speaks the language that the youth can actually gravitate to. So with all that being said, he already had the fame, but he didn't get the fame because he was successful as a coach. You know, like the Nick Saban was a nobody. But then when he started to win, he became a somebody. Coach Prime is already a somebody before he's dominated. So you see what happens? The arrogance, the overconfidence that you can have when you haven't even done anything yet. He's still a baby, still a puppy in terms of coaching years, in terms of his coaching tenure. Yeah, he coached a couple of years at Jackson State, but I'm talking about the Power 5 conferences. He's a baby, he's a puppy. But yet he's magnified as if he's a legendary coach already. That's what I mean by inversions. When you start something that's not correctly aligned, it's gonna generate a ripple effect. All right. When you start wrong, it ends wrong. Just like the mother who's pregnant who starts taking drugs. When you start wrong, the baby comes out wrong. The end result ends up being wrong. You don't get the end results that you wanted because it's how you start. But it's not Coach Prime's fault. Well, it's in a way it is, but in a way it isn't, because that's his personality. He's a victim of his own self. And when you're that famous as a coach, before before you actually have done something with coaching. Like if your coaching is not what made you famous and you're already famous before that, then what is there else for you to prove? Which is why he doesn't take criticism very well, which is why it's hard for Coach Prime to humble himself. All right. His ego is too big. It is. Nothing against him. I'm not hating on him. It is what it is. He can use the Christian talk and Christian rhetoric to talk about God and all this. That's just for show. That's for the camera. Innately, in essence, who he is. We as all men have ego. Even me as a relatively nobody have ego, has an ego. So much so, how much do you think Prime has? Who's actually had success playing, is famous, is a personality, generating millions for a town in Boulder. You don't think that he thinks about that? You don't think that makes him feel bigger than what he is? Get out of here. Not only, okay, reading along here. In the USA Today, in the publication describes Sanders the most famous college coach ever. He has been part of a mainstream popular culture for 35 years. So this is a guy. He's a TV personality. It's like getting an actor and said, "Hey, come coach this team." you know, Featuring in Pizza Hut, Pepsi, and Nike commercials in the early 90s, according to the platform. Not only that, he has also appeared in rap music videos and hosted in Miss USA pageants. The guy's a personality. He knows television. He's a marketer. He's a walking brand. Football is like the least of his concerns. You say, how can you say that? He's a coach because his son plays. So he has to be invested to a certain degree, but he's about getting his son to the NFL, getting Travis to the NFL, getting Shiloh to the NFL, building his brand. Whatever happens with the football team in regards to wins and losses is ancillary, tertiary. Is it important? Yeah, but on the priority scale, it's at the bottom. Of course, winning helps his brand, but he's more about building his brand. And if the winning happens, it happens. But there's always a built-in excuse if he doesn't succeed. He's ready to throw somebody under the bus. Oh, the offensive line needs to be better. People need to catch the ball better. Oh, the play calling is off. Yeah, we need to do this better. It's hard for him to look in the mirror because it can't be me. It can't be me. All right. Reading along here, I'm down here. I'm highlighting. All in all, USA Today attributes his success to maintaining cultural ubiquity, writing that the coach has not revealed much more about himself than what is necessary to fuel the Prime persona. See, fuel Prime, fuel Prime. It's about me, fuel me, fuel me. I kind of get you guys to understand that. I'm not hating, guys. I'm not hating. I want to see him win. Now, I'm not rooting for him to lose, but I'm telling you, like, this is the reality that we find ourselves in. What glitters is not always gold. I know we want everything to be perfect, but sometimes it's not that way. We can't force the relationship to work if it's not working. Sometimes you just have to depart from the person that's being harmful to you in your spirit. In this case, we just have to accept. I know it hurts because some of you guys are just, oh, I love Prime. You can love him, but there are certain realities that you guys aren't factoring in. All right, down here, this is where I'm at. It says Sanders was a multi-sport star in high school before earning a scholarship to Florida State University, where he was a member of the school's football, baseball, and track teams. With a reported net worth of $45 million, he became considered the only person to have played in both Super Bowl and in a World Series. He's big. He's big. He's big. All right. So yeah, that's the article, man. He's huge. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is this, is that he's a cash cow. He's protected. You're not going to mess with Coach Prime. And a lot of people say, oh, he's protected by God. Well, the gods of this world who print the money, all right, who think that money is the base of all things, they're going to protect him. They're going to protect him. Just like LeBron is protected by the media, Prime is protected by the media. When you generate money for these corporations and organizations and these associations and these enterprises, they're not going to mess that up. All right. They're not going to mess that up. So thank you guys for indulging me on this video. I just wanted you guys to see a different perspective of how things are viewed from a holistic perspective. Because a lot of the times we are myopic. We see things, we're like, okay, football, but there's a bigger component in the football. There's a money aspect too. You have some people that are just looking at the money. The complicated thing to do, or the critical thing to do, is to take both. Take the revenue sharing aspect, the fact that he's generating a lot of revenue for Colorado. Take that aspect and take the football aspect and put them together and see, does it mesh? And it's not meshing right now. It's not meshing right now. The reason why it's not meshing, because you have a figure, you have the person at the helm. His personality is bigger than Colorado in and of itself, and that's where you have the problem. You don't have a guy. It's one thing to be popular. It's one thing to, let's say he played for Colorado University, he was a great player, and he's coming back to coach the team. You have players who have done that. You have Jawan Howard came back to Michigan to coach. You have, sometimes you have that, but that's not like this. Coach Prime is bigger than that. He's bigger than that. It's not even about, oh, a great player coming back to coach. No, Eddie George was a great player in the NFL. He came back to coach HBCUs. You don't see him getting all the attention over there. It's about Coach Prime's personality. And then the narrative, the story, the storybook kind of flow that has, oh, his son is great too. Let's see how that happens. So a lot of eyes are watching, but it's taken away from the core essentials of what makes a team, because it's hard to be humble and put your head down and focus on just football when you have all these other things that are happening on the outside. And Coach Prime has to give his attention to those things. He can't, because that's part of his personality. He's not going to bury himself in the sand and cut off all the cameras and just focus strictly on football, because it's not all about football right now. It's about the branding aspect. Okay. And will that have an impact on their wins and losses? That's yet to be seen. I'm rooting for him. I want him to do well, but we'll see how that works. I just know conventional wisdom would tell me that when you do things out of order, it usually doesn't work. And you may have you may momentarily like have success, but in the long haul, it really doesn't work. So when you're trying to build a program from the ground up, it's hard when you came in from the up, you're coming down. See, Coach Prime is big. He came up, down to try to build down, up. Nuh-uh. You have to come down on the level of the people you're coming with. Like when he was pushing out the players that were first there, I didn't like that. The way he was just dismissing them. Boom, 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 boom. Those are men too. Those are children of parents. Those are people that have souls. I don't think that you dismiss people and treat them like trash because they weren't that great on the football field. I'm sorry that everyone can't be Travis Hunter. I'm sorry that everyone can't be a Heisman Trophy candidate. But your your playing ability should not be what dictates the kind of respect you should garner as a human being, as a divine being, as a sovereign being. I don't Just because you're a great athlete doesn't mean you should be worshipped. And just because you're a horrible athlete doesn't mean you should be thrown into the garbage can. So how you start usually dictates how you end. And if you ask Coach Prime today, I'm sure he's not going to admit that he did anything wrong. He's going to say, if I had a chance to do it again, I'll do it the same way. That's where pride kicks in. And people don't want to admit some of the mishaps or the mistakes that they've made. You can't grow when you can't admit to your wrongdoing. Okay, that's just my take on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that all of this is going to impact the football season for next year? Or do you think that this is much to do about nothing, that as long as he continues to generate revenue, all is good? But I'm on the end of thinking that, yeah, it's good for the city, but is it good for their football team? And maybe you can have the best of both worlds, but you do have a coach that has a huge personality, that has more so going on than just football. And we'll see how it works. We'll see how it works. All right. Thank you guys for indulging me. And I'll be back with another video at another time. Thank you. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right. Bye.